Welcome back to Final Fantasy XIV, where we are still on the moon after Zodiark died, and Fandaniel announced in death that the final days have begun. And now the Watcher wants to tell us something. In Shadow's wake. Before we speak at length, I believe a change of surrounds is in order. I have more than ill tidings to share, you see. I sensed others arriving not long ago. Though my communions with Fandaniel have grown infrequent, I have learned enough from her to know these are your comrades. And as luck would have it, they've already reached my abode. Come, let us join them. Yes, they are indeed the three I sensed. Maybe presume this being is a native of a moon. Dare I ask what happened before we arrived? Thank goodness you are unharmed. We did what we could to subdue the temper before making our way here. Not without casualties, unfortunately. Some few detonated explosives, killing themselves and others. The contingent's healers have their hands full, tending to the injured and enthralled when we took our leave. Lest you wonder, Mr. Squire has also been delivered unto their care. Serving as a conduit for Hydaelyn's power has taken its toll, but she will recover in due course. As for Alphinaud and Alizé, they insisted on remaining in Garlemald, where we three rushed to your aid. It appears, however, that matters here have already come to a conclusion. At least for now. But what manner of conclusion, if I might ask? And is this the ally whom Hydaelyn bade you seek out? He's not unlike the shades of Omerod. Not unlike, perhaps, but not the same. I was created by Hydaelyn, together with his place. It has ever been my duty to keep vigil over Zodiark. Or rather, it was my duty. Yeah, Fandaniel took possession of Zodiark and then killed himself. Then Zodiark is no more? And not without consequence, I'm afraid. For now, the delicate weave of a star, preserved by his presence, will begin to unravel. If you mean to avert the final days, you shall have need of... Are you alright? My attempts to forestall Zodiark's release have all but exhausted my strength. If you might allow me to rest a short while, I will share with you all I can. Please do. You need not exert yourself on our account. These crystals contain records of your time, yes? Maybe peruse them while you wait. By all means. If you were to review them chronologically, I might suggest beginning with those on the upper floor. I shall leave that to you, Desiree, while I see what can be gleaned from the crystals on these lower levels. A moment longer, friend. Probably review the records on the upper floor. Then we'll see if there's ought to be learned down here. Zodiark defeated. While he may have been in an incomplete state, that's nevertheless an impressive feat. But even if you hadn't, his demise was inevitable. Fandaniel would have seen to it one way or another. That said, he probably would have wielded Zodiark's power to wreak untold destruction before taking his own life, making this the better of two unfavorable outcomes. Thus was suppose our host has maintained his solitary vigil since the very beginning without rest or relief. If so, these records comprise of some total of his existence. We must needs handle them with care. Dimly glowing crystal. As you gaze into the crystal, ancient knowledge of Zodiark flows through your mind. Daily summary, no abnormalities detected, 3 times. These appear to be records of a long, lonely vigil on the moon, dating back to the beginning of Zodiark's imprisonment. As you gaze into the crystal, knowledge of past calamities flow through your mind. The records describe how, with each rejoining, Zodiark's thirst for freedom grew, as did the strain on the brands. Maintaining Zodiark's imprisonment appears to tax Hydaelyn greatly. Well, she won't try anymore, right? As you gaze into the crystal, knowledge of past rejoinings flows through your mind. The records describe the Watcher's efforts to prepare in the event Zodiark broke free from his prison. The records go on to describe maintenance carried out regularly with the Loporits, though it's not clear who or what they are. As you gaze into the crystal, a record of an unexpected visitor flows through your mind. The records note the Watcher's musings when Elidibus is spotted on the moon, though clearly not for the first time. It's clear he and his brethren have a keen interest in freeing Zodiark from his prison, and yet they've made no attempt to destroy the brands. Perhaps they prefer he remain hidden from mortal eyes until the final rejoining. Perhaps they realize we would never dare bring harm to Zodiark, so long as he remains imprisoned. Did you learn anything of import? So it is as we suspected. Maintaining the brands requires a great deal of her energy and focus, and this cost has grown higher with every rejoining. That would explain why contact with her has become rather infrequent since the 7th Umbral Calamity. I too made a rather startling discovery. The heavenly body we know to be the moon was in fact created by Hydaelyn. When the Watcher said he was created together with his place, I thought he only meant this facility. Truly, Hydaelyn's powers are far beyond anything I could have imagined. I thank you for affording me this short reprieve.
It is we who should thank you. The records stored here are nothing short of extraordinary. There is much we could learn of Zodiark and his imprisonment, but perhaps you could offer us more focused guidance. Pray, tell us of the calamity that came before and comes now again.
Long ago, before the great thundering, there was but a single world, Etheris. One day, from within the earth, a terrible cry issued forth, affecting a profound change in all manner of life. We were not exempt. Our creation magics ran rampant, giving shape and form to thoughts of hopelessness and despair. At first, the phenomenon was limited to a single region. But quickly, so very quickly, it spread and engulfed the whole of a star.
Were the ancients ever able to deduce its source?
They were not. However, the convocation struck upon a method to predict when next the corruption would manifest. The etheric energies which flow through all of creation in the form of various currents. The currents which course through the land and sea. Those which flow through the very air. And those of a celestial nature, which encompass both our star and this moon.
Celestial currents. I cannot say I am familiar with the concept.
Now what I expect you to be. Few scholars of our time knew of their existence. So like outer atmosphere and something like that. The energy flow there. Their invaluable knowledge helped us to better understand the nature of a calamity. Like the terrestrial ones of earth and air, the celestial currents form a vast network, but the ethereal distribution is not consistent. The convocation soon realized that the inciting incidents occurred in regions where the flow was weakest. Correlation without clear cause, ultimately. Nevertheless, on closer study, a stagnancy of ether was observed in nearby currents.
And so they sought a means to harness the forces of darkness, of activity and growth. Thus was Zodiark conceived. No less a power than a god's could set right the laws of nature and quicken the flow of ether within the star.
Precisely. With the advent of Zodiark, our end was averted.
Selk claimed that those who summoned Hydaelyn did so because they saw Zodiark's power as a threat. Is that true?
Indeed, there was a faction opposed to Zodiark's creation, but their aim was never to unmake him. They understood the continued preservation of a natural order was dependent on his very existence. Until we could identify and address the underlying cause of the final days, he would need remain, for his departure would set in motion those apocalyptic forces once more. Hydaelyn recognized this as well, and so, rather than destroy, she sundered Zodiark, herself, and the star into lesser reflections, that she might confine him in this place. Then what she told me in the ethereal sea is false? That the two who dwelt as one until Zodiark grew hungry for power, upsetting the balance betwixt them? Not quite a lie, though a rather gross embellishment. But knowing what you know now, you must surely realize why she might opt to obfuscate and mislead. Hydaelyn and Zodiark are both constructs of man, approximations of perfection, limited by our own imperfections. Zodiark was, without question, the more powerful of the two, having been born from the sacrifice of half Ethereus' population. Thus was it necessary for Hydaelyn to commit herself wholly to his defeat. Still more effort was needed to confine him. Maintaining the brands taxed her greatly. With what power she dared spare, she cried out to any who might listen, and offered her blessing to those who heeded her call. Though it was likely within her power to do so, I believe she did not wish to speak of Ethereus and her history. Like Zodiark, Hydaelyn's purpose is a reflection of her creators. They wished to look to the future and not linger in a prison of the past.
The Ascians set in motion 7 rejoinings before we came to oppose them. How many more worlds would have been lost had we not placed our faith in her? How many more souls living in the present would have been snuffed out for the sake of those long dead?
Well, in light of recent events, I see no reason to doubt your words. And even if Hydaelyn is not a god in truth, if Minfilia believed that we should trust in her plans, then I choose to do just that. Which brings me to a rather important question. Let's suppose we try but fail to stop this second coming of the final days. Should the source fall, what will become of the other worlds?
The nomenclature is more fitting when you know. Bring ruin to the source, and its reflections will share in its fate. Ah, it is ready. This way, if you would be so kind. A beautiful sight, is it not?
Yes, but what is it?
Hydaelyn knew better than any that her power was not absolute. Indeed, she has ever struggled to hold Zodiark and his faithful at bay. She feared the worst, and so made preparations. In the event of his demise, there would be a contingency. This moon is more than a prison. It is a vessel capable of bearing the people of Etheris to safe harbor. You need not go far to find its pilots. In fact, I should be happy to take you to them. And fulfill my final duty as Watcher in the Dark. It may be true, but others will struggle to believe it. I can scarcely believe it myself. The moon is a ship? Well, now I've heard everything. I should like very much to hear more of this extraordinary story. The time has come for you to be on your way. The crater at the heart of Mare Lamentorum, where Zodiark was imprisoned, is not so easily traversed, however. Let us call upon Argos, with Amelia, whom you met earlier. It should have no trouble bearing you across. As Hydaelyn created me as a jailer, so too did she create Argos as a guard. It is his nature to appear when needed, and yet he is nowhere to be found. Strange. Mayhap the imbalancing of airfare has affected him. Let us make for the crushing brand and attempt to call upon him there. You need but recall the path you walked with Argos before, and you will find your way. If he labors in service to Hydaelyn's plan, I see no reason not to do as he suggests. Shall we make for this crushing brand then? Jump! Fall! With a little preparation, it might be possible to traverse the gap on foot. Then again, it would be a long, long way down if one should slip. Perhaps another time. So close and yet so far. Does not the harsh terrain remind you of somewhere we've been before? The Dravanian Falllands, aye. A place that rejects the intrusion of outsiders, where solitude reigns supreme. At the very least, it sounds suitable for Zodiark's prison. Naught could prepare me for the boundless beauty of Etheirys. Shining, shimmering, amid a sea of stars. A blue sapphire, and but one of a countless other jewels brimming with life, no doubt. The place we seek is just ahead at the Chlorophos Grot. You see, Argos cannot manifest without sufficient concentrations of ambient ether. You'd be hard-pressed to find a greater confluence than inside this cavern. Follow me. You look weird. Curious, the place doth call to mind Plaeni, home of Anew. The guard of Zodiark's prison, eh? Bloodred eyes, slavering more, and built like a behemoth, I'd imagine. Let's hope he's friendly. Not quite right. This entire cavern is framing with ambient ether. Alas, any further analysis will have to wait. Yes, here will do nicely. The lunar spongi draw ether from the ground, which is then dispersed in the air. At present, however, the ambient energies are not quite sufficient for Argos to manifest. Might you be willing some of your own to help the spongi along? Hello. Argos manifests in a flash. He seems glad to see you again. A most fascinating creation of Hydalin's, would you not agree? Should the need arise, he is even able to create reflections of himself on a whim. Though I assure you, it is no reflection which accompanied you earlier to the brand. No, Argos was quite eager to be at your side then, as he is now, it seems. I cannot recall when last he showed such an affinity for anyone. Indeed, I thought him more likely to shy away from you and your companions. Perhaps it was more than a sense of duty that compelled him to aid you before. As for your companions... Unexpected, but greatly appreciated. I believe we are all ready. Then let us return outside, that you may cross the chasm. Dalamut has long been described as a loyal hound of Melfina due to its relation to the Greater Moon. It seems highly improbable, if not impossible, for ancient peoples to have known of Argos. But now I wonder whether there is some connection. I was expecting a little more intimidating and less man's best friend. To whom would Eidolon entrust the command of so grand a vessel, I wonder? Your destination is the structure there across the cradle of darkness. But climb onto Argos' back and he will take care of the rest. Once you arrive, it should not be long to find the ship's crew. The facility is designated to rouse them from their slumber in the event of Zodiark's destruction. Heed their counsel. Together you may guide the star and its people to a kinder fate. This is where we part ways, but know that I shall ever be watching and praying for your success. Argos favors you with what could almost be described as a conspiratorial grin. Our allies' assurances notwithstanding, we cannot be certain what awaits us on the other side. So perhaps it would be best if we did not all go at once. I propose that two of us cross first the Thancred on Riange wait here. Okay. Onward! A malefic ether that permeates from the crater. Remnants of Zodiark, most like. Just a little further. This structure is enormous, but that is hardly surprising given the size of the average Amorotine. Apologies for the wait. Right then, let us head inside and... oh! Most intriguing. A means by which he conserves energy, mayhap? Well, I certainly wouldn't want him to blink out of existence on our account, helpful as he's been. Thank you, Argos. We'll take things from here. If Argos is to remain without, let us not keep him waiting over long. Okay, but I end this episode here, and next time we enter this place. Until then, I'm Mace, and don't get lost.